Hello and a very good evening. On behalf of Nikon India, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all our viewers who have joined us for this live premiere of the Nikon's new mirrorless flagship camera, the Z9. My name is Sharik Mohammed. I'm your host this evening. Joining me is my co-host Sahil Nanda.
I'm Thank you so much everyone for joining us this evening. I'm really excited about what's in store for us today. Having said that, let's begin with a short film showcasing the amazing content that has been shot by our panelists using the Z9.
We asked top photography professionals to put the Z9 through its paces, from sand dunes of Dubai to camel fair at Pushka, from hot and humid forests in Kabini to freezing temperatures of Ladakh, from vibrant Indian weddings as they are to the dirt bike tracks. These professional photographers threw everything they could at the new Z9. So let's hear it directly from these master craftsmen to see if the Z9 turned out to be truly unstoppable. Without further ado, let us quickly introduce our panel of experts. Joining us this evening is sports and action photographer and founder of the Mumbai based sports agency called Focus Sports India. Please welcome Mr. Ali Barmal. Mr. Ali is an award winning photographer whose images have graced the pages of Time Magazine, New York Times, and National Geographic. Mr. Ali, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you, Sharik San. It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and share this stage and talk about our experience with the incredible and truly unstoppable Nikon Z9.
Sure.
Happy to be here.
Next up is Mr. Vijay Issa. He is the founder of Vijay Issa and Company, which is a wedding company with 200 plus members, ranging from photographers, cinematographers, and editors. His fine art approach to weddings has led him to shoot across the globe, which has resulted in a long list of happy clients. Mr. Vijay Issa, thank you so much for joining us. Looks like we lost Vijay-san.
Hi. Hi, my name is Vijay. Wait.
Well, looks like we're having a minor technical glitch here. Our backend team is working on it. We're trying to get back Vijay Issa-san with us as soon as possible. Please stay tuned. We apologize for the inconvenience caused. Our backend team is trying to sort out the issue, and I'm sure we'll be back pretty soon. If someone in the backend team can let me know whether we should continue with the rest of the panelists.
Okay, after that slight technical glitch, let me once again introduce Mr. Vijay Issa, the co-founder of Vijay Issa and Company, which is a wedding company with 200 plus team members, ranging from photographers, cinematographers, and editors. His fine art approach to weddings has led him to shoot weddings across the globe, which has resulted in a long list of happy clients. Mr. Vijay Issa, sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Nikon, for having me. I'm very excited to share my experiences with Z9. So I have been shooting weddings from past 13 years. This is the most amazing camera that I ever shot with. Thank you again for everyone having me here. Looking forward to have a great conversation with you all.
A pleasure, sir.
Now, from the world of wildlife photography, joining us is one of the youngest photographers who needs no introduction. His thought provoking images of the wild, particularly that of the leopards, would leave you absolutely awestruck. Please join me in welcoming none other than Mr. Shah. Mr. Shah is a professional wildlife photographer and a cinematographer. We can say he's a big cat specialist. Mr. Shah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about this. So, yeah.
Now it's time to introduce the power couple, Mrs. Ankita Asthana and Mr. Akash Agarwal. They are founders of the wedding and filming company Wedding Nama, which is sought after in the wedding industry. Their expertise in capturing natural moments in an epic manner has led to their work being showcased in exhibitions across the globe and in various publications. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello everyone, really happy to be here. Thank you Nikon India for letting us test the Z9. My mind is blown, let me tell you that. And I'm sure this camera is a giant leap forward in technology.
Yeah, same here. Very, very excited to be here. And I think Nikon has surpassed all the expectation and all the rumors with this launch. So very, very excited.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
So now let me introduce our last panelist, but certainly not the least, the most experienced and multi-talented photographer who not only has made his name in wildlife photography, but has also managed to carve a niche in fashion and advertising industry. Please welcome Mr. Akash Das. Akash Das, sir, pleasure to have you with us this evening.
Thank you. Same here. Actually, thanks, Shah. Thanks, Nikon. And I'm really, really glad that I'm here and I'm seeing so many panelists and see their ideas, views about this camera. This camera is extremely well, and I just can't wait to own one. Yeah, that's the complaint I have towards Nikon. Why am I not owning one right now? It's amazing camera. I'll share my experience.
Well, sir, we'll see what we can do about that.
Okay, on that note, let's move on to a round of discussion with our panelists and get to know more about their experience of shooting with the Z9. Akash, sir, we'll begin with you. So we see an amazing fashion photo here. So if you could tell us what was the concept behind this shoot and did the Z9's result match your vision?
Actually, if you're asking me about creative concept, the creative concept is fashion is all about attraction. So even the camels are attracted towards the model, and I'm a wildlife photographer as well as a fashion photographer. So I wanted to amalgamate both in one shot. From the Z9 point of view, I was really amazed because what I was trying in a low light situation, first I used the tracking of human, track, and it was tracking in spite of so many other eyes around, all the camel's eyes around. It was tracking the model only, and I was not only keeping her in the center. I was making her on the sides of the frame. But even then, it was always, it never lost the track. And then I switched onto animal tracking, and believe me, like it started tracking the camels. Whichever camel would be in front, it will immediately track that. So this is amazing, and all this was happening in a low light situation. So it's such a accurate tracking I've never ever experienced. So what I could do, actually, I'm a handle photographer, so I could concentrate really on the frames. And because of his, burst mode, I could take, instead of, I would have taken maybe 5-6 pictures within that moment, I could take maybe 20, 25, 30 pictures. So I have got more variations in my compositions.
Well, that's great to know, sir, that the camera was able to help you achieve your vision. That's always great to know.
Miss Ankita Asthana, I'm sure you would agree that most of the Indian weddings take place during the evening hours. And I believe you've had the opportunity to try out the Z9 at one such wedding. How do you think the Z9 performed in these low lighting conditions?
Oh, it performed brilliantly. At Indian weddings, you can always expect the unexpected. Things never happen on time, and we face so many challenges. Half the time we're shooting in extremely low light situations. And as a wedding photographer, my motto has always been to, always be prepared. That's what you can do best, because you need to capture those moments. There's no other way. There's no retakes, right? So I did get to capture a few weddings on the Z9, and I truly felt free. The reason being, I was really impressed with the low light capabilities of this camera, the way, and not just the low light sensor capabilities, but also the low light autofocus capabilities. The autofocus was so good. It was excellent. And in weddings, it happens a lot where, the subject is walking towards you. directly towards you, and it's unexpected movement, right? You can't predict where the subject is going to go. So it's extremely important for the tracking to be tack sharp, and it was tack sharp every single time. So I captured bridal entries, I captured things, a lot of action that was happening in low light, as you rightly said, since Indian weddings never happen on time. If there's a wedding planned at sunset, it will end up happening much later. And yeah, you need to be prepared with your gear. And I think that's what I felt with the Z9. I felt completely free, and I was able to trust the camera, and I was able to focus on my moment rather than, worrying about why is my shot not in focus. It never left focus. It was tack sharp throughout every single time. And I think that's what impressed me the most about the Z9, the autofocus capabilities and the low light capabilities, both of them.
Well, that's great to know.
Moving on to Mr. Shah's junk. So in this photo that we see here, we see you tracking one bird, then another bird comes in frame and crosses in front of it. The camera shifts focus to the bird in front and does not lose focus at all. How do you feel that the camera's autofocus performance was like in this kind of a situation?
Yeah, I just want to say that I want to start by saying that I'm absolutely blown away by this Z9. I mean, I specialize primarily in megafauna, but when Nikon gave me the Z9 to test, I wanted to push, the boundaries of this camera, but also the capabilities of, me as a photographer. So I decided that, okay, let's put megafauna aside and let's go out there and try and test this on some birds. And the Z9 gives me the ability to, capture these images that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to capture. And this is primarily, of course, due to the X-Speed 7 processor, the dual stream sensor, and the autofocus algorithm, which has significantly improved. So yeah, I mean, you see over here now you have several options with the AF. Of course, you have the traditional, point focus. But what really catapults this camera into its own league, especially for wildlife photographers like me, is the auto area focus and the 3D tracking with animal eye detection. It's accurate, it's persistent, and it's fast. And in this sequence, which we're seeing over here, of the stilts is a great example of that, where I shot this at a burst of over 100 images as the stilts took flight. And I chose to use the auto area focus, and the animal eye detection on it tracked the bird just perfectly. And what makes this sequence interesting is the presence of another bird in it over here, basically two subjects. And it's incredible how you have that control to shift your focus between the two subjects, between the two sets of eyes. It usually tends to prioritize subjects around the center of the frame, or from my experience, subjects that are slightly closer to you. And what's amazing is that, it can, at the same time, when it's got one stilt in focus, it can simultaneously, detect the other stilt in focus and give you the option to focus on it by just pressing the OK button. And I find that pretty amazing. I mean, the camera's AF performance has made my life just so much easier out there in the field to go photograph subjects that I usually wouldn't have.
I mean, anything that helps you achieve your vision and take photographs that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to, that's always just great news for us.
Thanks, yeah.
So my next question is from Mr. Vijay Issa, sir. So I believe you already are aware that the Z9 is the first Nikon camera to offer in-camera 10-bit N-Log capability. Do you think this feature would help you achieve better results in your wedding shoots?
Totally. I was actually looking forward for inbuilt 10-bit recording, because all these days we used to use external recordings to get that 10-bit raw, and then now we're very thrilled to have it inbuilt in the camera. And the kind of quality you can get, especially for weddings, while you shoot, for a second you're shooting indoor, and then for a second you're going out and shooting something out, and the kind of a depth that you get with 10-bit is, amazing. And I'm super happy and excited to, keep shooting weddings without having to worry about additional Atmos or any other tool for that matter. I think this is totally changing the ground in terms of the kind of a quality that we can give to weddings in par with like a feature films, right? So when I show to my clients my film, like now I'm excited that I'm very confident that when client sees that, it's like equal to a feature film, right? So it's I could not believe that, and I'm very happy Nikon has given us this kind of body, and super excited to show more films to the world with this.
Well, we're glad to know that you've liked the performance of the Z9.
Our next question is to Mr. Ali. So we see here an amazing multiple exposure image captured by you. If you could just please take us behind the scenes and help us understand how you were able to capture this image and how the Z9 helped you to capture this image.
Absolutely. So this was actually during sunset, and we were losing light really quickly, and we didn't have too much time to shoot. And I literally had only one take with the rider. He's an MTB downhill rider and national champion actually. And in just one pass, I was using the 3D tracking system, and it was just amazing that I really didn't have to do much. I just had to point the camera in the right direction, and the rider was charging towards the frame. I was able to get every single frame in focus, zoom out, and still get a multi-exposure all in one sequence in one take. So this was really not possible to do so quickly, and the autofocus system is so accurate that you really don't have to think twice. You don't really have to adjust anything. Usually for a multi-exposure, you would manual focus and hope that the rider is going to pass in that where you've kind of framed your you set your frame and you get him in focus. But I was able to track him while he was coming downhill and just zoom out and be ready for that quick little jump and get a multi-exposure all in one sequence. So the 3D tracking is just unbelievably reliable and accurate, and never had this kind of flexibility and reliability in any other system that I've used.
Well, let me just tell you that you were able to achieve quite an amazing image. It's really, yeah.
So let me now go to Mr. Akash Tasa. So back to your Pushkar shoot. Speaking of fashion and advertising photography, we know that how important it is for a photographer to capture even the minutest details in your subject. During a shoot at Pushkar, do you think Z9 was able to capture all those details?
Yeah, of course. You see, capturing a detail is one thing. You can capture a detail even with manual focus. But the only thing is, we had very little time. And when I'm capturing the details, the combination of Z9 and 105mm 2.8 really is a deadly combination. So I shot open aperture and in a low light. You can imagine open aperture, low light, no camera can focus, but it kept its track on the subject. Now, here the subject was the jewelry, not the face. I want the face to be soft to get her emotion, So it is a brilliant combination of, keeping the track absolutely on the jewelry. Then I'm moving, the model is moving, and model is moving very fast. But when you see the shot, you just can't make out, because this was not possible yesterday. This was possible today only because of, this tracking system and fast capture, is really brilliant, actually. I really enjoyed it, working with it.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us.
Our next question is from Mr. Akash Agarwal. So we know that there's a big jump in the video specifications in the Z9. I mean, including in-camera ProRes 422, 4K 120, 8K 30, and so on. How is your overall experience shooting video with the Z9?
It was brilliant. Like, it's difficult to express in words, but you have to use it to actually experience it. It is mind blowing. And whenever a new camera is launched, it's actually very difficult to satisfy people, because when you pick up, you always want more. But when I picked up Z9, I couldn't think of even one feature which wasn't there already. In Indian weddings, your camera system has to be compact. So
Correct.
even though a lot of features were already there, like 10-bit and log, but you have to use external recorder with that, and it wasn't very practical for us. But with Z9, everything that is there can be done in camera, so it's a huge bonus for me. In terms of the features, I think it already has features which a lot of people won't even need, like as you already said, 10-bit N-Log, 4K 120 and 8K 30, and even with future updates, it'll come out with 8K 60 and 12-bit RAW. So already it's packed with best features. One thing which I liked about this camera is it allowed me to actually take longer videos, since there was no 30-minute limit. And for weddings, there are a lot of times when you have to shoot Sangeet, the camera did not stop. The camera did not heat. I tried for more than 1.5 hours. I think Nikon promised to. I could try it for 1.5 hours. The camera did not heat at all. So that was really, really good for me. The autofocus, as everyone has already mentioned, it's out of the world. Like, I tried it for videos. It's mind blowing. I was shooting in harsh sun where the couple was wearing sunglasses. It could detect the eye throughout, like even when they were wearing sunglasses. So it's actually very brilliant. And I shoot a lot on 120 FPS. So the eye detect worked on 120 FPS as well, which is very nice, which I think the previous cameras couldn't do at 120 FPS, but this was really, really nice. Overall experience, very, very good. And I can't wait to actually, incorporate Z9 in the entire team. So very, very good experience. Yeah.
It's always good to know that the camera was able to meet your expectations, or if I dare say, exceed them. That's always great to know.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, my next question is going to be for Mr. Shahs. So you've shared with us beautiful series of still images of a gray heron in flight. I believe you used the 3D tracking feature of the Z9. Was this feature able to meet your expectations? I'm aware that you already touched upon the 3D tracking earlier, but was it able to match your vision and come up to your expectations?
Yeah, I've always loved the 3D tracking technology, even on the DSLRs before, but I'm so excited to now have it a part of the mirrorless system. And I've actually used the 3D tracking mode a lot on the Z9. I find that useful. You can move it around and then half press the shutter and lock onto your subject and allow the AF, which then overrides and detects the eyes so accurately. It's incredible for fast moving subjects as well. And what's amazing for me is it just allows you to compose your images so easily. And you can, you don't have to worry anymore about playing with your autofocus points. You can just half press compose, and it accurately detects the eyes even in the far corners of your screen. And in this sequence, you can see how it consistently tracks the heron. I tested the auto subject detection with the heron, and it was great. And the Z9 has the ability to detect 9 different types of subjects. And what's incredible is that it could, for me, in the field, detect, I think, over 60 species of animals that I've shot with ease. It just picks up the head if the eyes are not showing, and then boom, just straight onto the eyes. And I'm talking about animals right from the paradise flycatcher to the black panther. And I've been able to capture even much smaller birds with the heron flying erratically across the screen. And a great example of that is a pair of munias. Munias are very small birds, which are nesting outside my window, and they've been nesting there for years. But now with the Z9 and this new 3D tracking mode, I was able to capture this bird, which is not more than a couple of inches, big, in flight, really quick. And when they nest, they carry this grass in their mouth, long strands of grass. and I was able to just get sequence after sequence of them just nesting, and that's incredible. I mean, today, I mean, shooting with that camera just makes everything a breeze. So yeah, 3D tracking is also something great, which I think a lot of photographers out there will enjoy.
Well, we're looking forward to all the amazing pictures that you're going to produce using the Z9. Well, for the information of our audience who are watching us right now, I would like to mention here that the 3D tracking feature has been a much appreciated feature in Nikon DSLRs. And now, like Mr. Shah's mentioned, it has been incorporated into the Z9 and has been introduced in the ML system for the still images.
Also, I'd like to tell our viewers that they can put in their queries in the comments, the chat, or the email address pinned in the chats. In case you have any questions, any queries, you can do that. My next question is to Mr. Vijay. Sir, we know that the Z9 has the brightest EVF. If you could just tell us how this has helped you on your long and tiring
right.
wedding shoot.
So, I always been a photographer, use, eyepiece and not the, display, right? So I always love shooting camera very close and be very much connected, right? So,
Mhm.
so there's this problem of, like the EVF is not bright enough to actually, get the whole value captured, right? So when I start this, it's like, wow, as if like my whole eyes have become much more powerful, right? So I cannot now, like I don't even shoot anything without looking into eyepiece. It's always I'm super happy, and I think for especially in weddings, like you also shoot in places where there's a lot of people around you, and then you can't actually uh, keep changing your direction, and you have to be very much involved. I think not for me, even my whole team is super excited about this UV brightness. Yeah, that's great feature for every photographer. I would recommend. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience, sir. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ali Bhamal, speaking of the EVF, which is now completely blackout free and offers the real life feature, combined with the Z9's ability to shoot 20 FPS, 30 FPS, and blazing fast 120 FPS in stills, do you think it's going to be a game changer for you as a sports and action photographer?
Well, most definitely. As an action sports photographer, for that matter, any sports photographer, they are always looking for the Neil Leafer moment, where he captures Muhammad Ali versus Sonny Liston fight, the iconic sports image. So there's a lot of things which goes into making it the right timing, the right location, preparation. There are a lot of things which makes for that like a decisive moment shot. When you have the ability to shoot 20, 30, 120 frames, it kind of gives you the advantage of selecting the decisive moment. So, it puts the ball in your court. It's a definite advantage. And the ability to, the assurity to know that what you're seeing in the moment you press the shutter button is exactly what you'll capture with the dual streaming technology, which the Nikon Z9 now has, is unparalleled. And it's extremely important that you don't really need to now predict what the next move is or the moment is. What you are seeing is you can actually capture it just immediately. I think that's something which is a complete game changer for us sports photographers, and for any other photographer. Like, they will really enjoy how intuitive and how amazing and accurate it is. So definitely. And 20 frames, 30 frames, 120 frames. It's like, it's an amazing time to be in right now, where you can choose multiple images and which are the right moment, the decisive moment, and it gives you the ability that you select which is the one. So it's great. It's super excited to have this in the Nikon Z9.
I couldn't agree more with you on this one. Thank you so much for your response.
Akasha, sir, if you could just shed a little light on how you felt the eye detection of the Z9 helped you, especially when you're shooting from awkward angles, say like uh, too high, too low, off to the side. I mean, was that any useful for you?
Well, after using the camera, I'm feeling little complex because now, as I always say, I make a picture. I don't take one. And taking a picture is done by the equipment. Now, this equipment is doing so much of taking that is taking over my creativity. So I have a complex now. I have to go further to create because I'm not kidding. Actually, when I was shooting this model, I mean, I had this camera for a couple of hours, and then I'm shooting this model, and the model is moving. I told her to move left, right, and move fast. And I'm a on-the-go photographer. I never use a tripod. I generally avoid. So I'm moving. My body is moving. My camera is moving. The model is moving, and it's keeping a track. The model is wearing a hat, and when she's going backwards, it is still is searching, and then the moment she looks at me or sideways is again tracking her. This is amazing. It's in low light. I can't imagine. Yesterday this wasn't possible for me. This would have taken a long time. And today it's happening. So I have to roll my sleeves up and work harder to show the camera that I can actually handle you.
So if the camera is, forcing you to push your creative limits, I mean, that's just great. That just means that we can expect more great images, more creative images from you.
Miss Ankita Asthana, at one of your recent shoots in Ladakh with the Z9, you happened to shoot a lot of low angle shots. Was the multi-axis LCD, helpful in taking those ultra low angle shots?
Definitely. I think we've not been speaking about ergonomics so much, but I just love how this camera is built. It's just too good to shoot, especially vertical, because that is something you don't get on the other cameras. And when I was shooting vertical with the multi-axis tilt screen, I think I really enjoyed myself. And I'm a photographer who will move around a lot, and I'll try all kind of angles. And it was just so easy to do. It looks difficult in the beginning, how do you tilt it and all that. But once you start using it, it's so simple and it's so easy, and things are just right in place. So in fact, I love the placement of the other buttons also. They've added some custom buttons, especially for the autofocus, and just switching between modes has become so much simpler. I think I'd really enjoyed shooting with the vertical grip, and also all the buttons. Like Nikon I think that's one thing that I've always loved about Nikon cameras is they just know where to place it, because at that time you don't have to think about the buttons at all or where things are in your camera, and you just focus on the moment, get your shot right, and it's all there where you need it to be. So I really enjoyed it.
Great to know that. Great to know that.
Shah, sir, the next question is for you. I believe that for the content that we're seeing today, you use the 600 lens with the Z9. If you could just shed a little light on what you thought was the performance of this Fmount lens with the FTZ adapter on the Z9.
Yeah, sure. I think, I've always said this. One of my most favorite lenses is the 600 f4 FL. And paired with the Z9, it's just an absolute dream for wildlife photographers like me who like to get up close and personal as well. So the 600 is an F-mount lens, which is used with an FTZ adapter. And I know a lot of people get worried when they hear the word adapter, but I just want to reiterate that the FTZ adapter, with that, there is no change in your focal length, in your aperture, and most importantly, your autofocus. All of these sequences and pictures which you're seeing right now is shot with the 600 on an FTZ adapter, and the performance is incredible. And the camera is as everyone said, is lightning fast. It's quick to boot up. It's quick to detect subjects, quick to fire. So I've always used the Z9 with over this past few weeks with different F-mount lenses. Some of them was, of course, the 180-400, which is incredible, the 120-300, the 400 f2.8. And for all of them, the performance was mind-blowing. And you often forget that you even have an adapter on. It just seamlessly merges in with that entire ecosystem. So yeah.
I hope that puts a rest to any confusion or any uh, doubts that our viewers might have regarding adopting their F-mount lenses with the Z9. So thank you so much.
So coming back to the video specs of the Z9, I would like to put this question to Mr. Vijay Issa, sir. So we already know that it can shoot 8K 30p and 8K 60p will also be available pretty soon in a future update. What are your thoughts about the Indian market's requirement for the 8K resolution?
So more than the market, I would see it as, kind of opportunity for all the wedding cinematographers. Like, when you compose is one, you tell a story, and then even editors can now recompose the frames because it's like 8K now. Like probably 2K is like more than enough for digital screening, and like 4K is very good for, the clients that, who have a big home theater kind of screens. So now what we are super looking forward is like have a freedom to recompose the shots in the post, and then still have like amazing depth of whole visuals. So that's something very excited. But you also see the whole economy of affording a big screens is becoming very easy these days, and people are going to buy big screens, and wedding happens now, and then like probably like 5 years from now people can probably buy a 8K or probably a 10K, when they look back their footage, and the quality will be still great, right? So that's what I think. 8K is going to be, for a lot of people think it's like too much now, but I think given the way how the industry is transforming, how whole the digital media is transforming, 8K is going to be a norm in a couple of years, and I'm just thrilled how Nikon is ahead of the whole thing, and they're able to give future technology today for us, right? So I'm very excited and happy for it.
Well, great to know that you're pleased with the Z9's performance and the 8K resolution. It's amazing to know this. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ali, sir, I know you've briefly touched upon this, but if you could just explain a little more detail as to how the 9 subject detection of the Z9 was able to help you, click these amazing images and shoot these amazing video of the fast-moving bicycles and motorcycles that you've been able to achieve.
Absolutely. So the auto select subject detection and the 9 different modes have just are just incredible, because there are times when you don't really get to react or change to the scene which is happening in front. But if your camera can already make these decisions for you, and you can just focus on the composition, or focus, because the action is so quick, it gets over in a matter of fraction of seconds sometimes. So I was able to test it in really tricky situations where I was trying to trick the camera to fail or to kind of just skip, but it just proved me wrong every time. There were some rose bushes and some flower bushes, and the rider was kind of riding behind it, and it was still able to latch on and track the eye. I even tried shifting the autofocus to auto select, and it just knew when it needs to, depending on the composition, to move to the subject's eye, even at a profile, when I'm shooting them at a profile, or then to move to a vehicle when they can see that the action is more focused, and it's more intuitive to kind of look at the vehicle in terms of the action, because that's where the composition is set. So it's really intelligent, and it kind of takes a lot of guesswork away from you, and helps you to get a shot almost every single time, and so I was particularly super impressed by the auto select autofocus mode, where it kind of helps change between and reacts to the scene which you're shooting. So that's just been a real game changer for what I was shooting and when I had the Nikon Z9 with me.
Well, seeing from the content that we're seeing, you surely managed to, push the camera to its limits, and you've achieved some great results. So that's great.
Well, moving on, during the promotion of this event, we asked our viewers to send us in their questions, and we received an overwhelming response. However, due to time limitations, we may not be able to pick up all those queries, but we have shortlisted some of these, which I'm sure our panelists are more than happy to reply. So let me begin with Akash Tasa. So one of the viewers would like to know, how was your experience shooting video with the Z9?
Well, actually, I have not shot many videos, but this time I will try. I have shot videos, but just for myself. Now here I tried because, as I said, I'm a handle photographer, and whatever videos I have shot in the past, I have actually put on a tripod because that's the first requirement. Now over here, I was shooting handheld on the what you call the sand dune, and the model is walking towards me, coming down with the camels, and I'm handheld camera. I shot those videos with 4K 120p and also 8K whatever 30p. I tried that and it actually worked, and because of the camera has got inbuilt 6-time stabilizer, that also helped me to not get a shake in the in my visuals. So now I'm super excited. I'm going to start a lot of shots I'm going to take, do a lot of videography without any tripod or anything. It's an amazing thing because one thing is, most problematic thing is keeping the focus on the subject and not get a shake at the same time. So it is actually, it is an eye opener for me because I'm not a video man. So, I've never faced what you call easiness while shooting a video. I always find it difficult. Now today with this, it is becoming easier for me to, now concentrate on my subject, concentrate on my content, and I can go anywhere and I can shoot video, So the technology is actually helping my creativity to, bloom.
Well, let's hope we get to see some more videos from your side in future.
Sure.
Our next question from our viewers is for Mr. Akash Agarwal, sir. So the viewers want to know what is the color reproduction like with the Z9? We know that's something that's extremely important for our colorful and vibrant Indian weddings. So if you could just shed a little light on that.
Absolutely. I think one of the reasons I shifted to Nikon for videos was the way the colors came straight out of the camera. Even for videos, the N-Log was there in my Z6 II, which we currently use. But I never actually used N-Log, but I used to because of the external recorder. So I shot on flat profile or neutral profile, and the colors look brilliant in itself. Now with Z9, with N-Log, you get brilliant dynamic range, and with 10-bit recording, you get something to work with in the post-production. So when you sit on your screen doing the color grading, you have something to work on. With the 8-bit, there's nothing much you can do with that. But now since you have that information in your videos, you can do a lot. But otherwise, the way the video come out in itself, even without the color grading, they look brilliant. So, and Indian weddings, as Ankita was saying, they are colorful, like so many colors and everything, the contrast. But the profiles, the inbuilt profiles, and Z9, they're just brilliant.
That's great to know that you had a nice experience with the Z9 at Indian weddings. That's great.
Well, we've received one question from our viewers who's a bird photographer. So let me put this question to Mr. Shahs. Mr. Shahs, he wants to know what is the best setup in Z9 for photographing and also video recording the birds in flight, particularly the ones that fly really high in the sky.
Yeah, I think for this, I suggest, of course, using the continuous autofocus, which is AFC. And AF area mode can either be auto area with animal detection or 3D. But if you want to do video, then and pictures also, this setting works well, which is the auto area mode with animal detection. And it works well for videos as well. And for stills, I suggest using the 3D tracking with animal detection. I've shot most of my pictures on this mode, especially birds. And at the end of the day, it's really up to you to decide what AF area mode suits you best, given the size of the subject, the behavior of the subject, and of course the distance. But for birds in flight, especially eagles in the sky, the 3D tracking will just easily lock on and allow you to just compose the way you want. So yeah, those are the settings I recommend.
Great, thank you so much.
I'll put this next question to Mr. Vijay, sir. So if you could just tell our viewers what it is, if you could compare the sensor of the Z9 to cameras with a similar megapixel count, say like the Z7 II, what kind of a difference did you feel with the camera?
Like, the first thing, not just like, I just wanted to take a brief moment to explain, my whole feeling about the Z9. So when I started, when I first hold the Z9, I thought like probably, this is the same, when I looked at the specifications, especially about the sensor, megapixel and stuff like that, maybe it's just another good camera, right? But when I started shooting, it's like, I felt like a photographer who started like 13 years, 14 years, that excitement just came out, and then I was just enjoying every second, so much of love to just keep looking and shooting. And like be it autofocus, like, all of our amazing folks who shared about all the great features. I'm a big fan. So when it comes to sensor, although we've been using 7.2 and 6.2 quite some time, but when I looked at the images in Lightroom while we process, it's like next level. Like, it's although it's same megapixel, it's like amazing in terms of quality. I wanted to tell one quick moment that happened, experience that happened. So we shot with 8K 30 frames per second, couple of clips and some amazing, beautiful sunrise shots. And I could not do a photo at the same time. So what I did in post, we grabbed some stills and we it did a minimal processing and we gave it to client as the pictures, and they could not see any difference, right? So that's I think the future. We talk about shoot video and then you could also deliver a photo to client, right? So that's the kind of future I see and possibilities that's happening with new Nikon Z9, right? So kudos to Nikon for all the innovation and especially getting the joy of shooting back again after 13-14 years. So that's something I'm super happy and thanks everyone.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that personal experience. I'm sure the people will learn a lot about the camera from that. Thank you so much.
So my next question is going to be for Mr. Ali. So one of our viewers would like to know if the Z9 can shoot N-Log without any external recorder.
Sure thing. I think this was touched a little earlier as well, but yes, absolutely. With the Nikon Z9, you will shoot N-Log without external recorder. Not only that, 10-bit N-Log and 8GL ProRes RAW at 422 HQ, and with future updates, you can even shoot 8K at 60 frames per second, 12-bit, and ProRes RAW at 12-bit as well. So future is looking really, really good. And yes, all internal in camera.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ali. And in fact, thank you to all of our panelists for answering all of the queries we received through social media. Before we wrap up this session, let me quickly ask each one of our panelists about their favorite feature of the Z9, starting with Mr. Akash, sir. Sir, do you have a favorite feature of the Z9 you would like to share with us?
Well, I've got many favorite features. I can't mention one. I can't stop, saying that the subject detection, 9 types of subject detection is really amazing. But at the same time, no blackout in the camera it's a combination. I can't say I like this, I like that, and super fast, capture. these are the three things I would say which I really enjoyed, and which is going to is going to improve the quality of the industry.
What about you, Miss Sankita Asthana? Any favorite feature of the Z9?
Well, very, very difficult. All I will say is once you shoot on this camera, you can't go back. You can't go back. You have to, pick this up. And I think what I loved, as Akash Das was also saying, the speed at which it shoots as well. It's very, very important. You get the autofocus right, but you also capture those moments very, very fast in your camera, I think. And I love that. What about you?
How about Mr. Akash Agarwal, sir?
I think I loved everything about the camera. One thing which I didn't like is, as Akash Das said, it puts a lot of pressure on you. So if you miss something, it's you, not the camera.
You can't blame the equipment.
So you have to, as a shooter, you have to take the blame now. No, but it's a brilliant camera. Like I think I love everything about it, and to be able to do everything in camera, I think is the highlight for me. Yeah.
And we shot in extreme conditions, and the camera didn't give up at any moment. Like we were in Ladakh, each one of us fell sick, all of us, our bodies gave up, but the camera didn't give up, and it gave us the result every single time, and it's truly unstoppable. The word you guys
I was about to say
define it's true. It's unstoppable.
Great to know that. Great to know that. How about you, Mr. Shaz? Do you have a favorite feature of the Z9?
Yeah, I think other than the obvious few, which is, of course, like everyone's mentioned, the autofocus, the speed, all of that's incredible. But for me, I was jumping with joy when I saw that they'd brought back the backlit buttons. I mean, shooting in low light, shooting at night, finally, we can see the buttons, and being able to access the entire camera just becomes so much easier. And the fact that, you can pull that monitor out and flips both vertical, horizontal. And something which I really like with this particular mirrorless body is the fact that it feels like a pro body, but it's hard to believe that it's mirrorless. And the vertical grip is so nice. It's deep, like, you can actually hold it. It's firm, it's strong, it's durable in every way. So yeah, I think wildlife photographers like us, people are going to be happy with the fact that this may be a mirrorless, but it really does feel like a pro body.
Great. Mr. Vijay sir, what is your favorite feature of the Z9?
Yeah. So, like everyone said, it's quite not possible to just pinpoint one feature. For me, it's like I have like about 100 photographers and cinematographers, shooting with us. So the pressure is now on us to buy Z9 for all of them, because once they shoot Z9 and they can go back, it's like you ride Ferrari and now you can't go back to normal Ambassador or any other cars, right? So that's the kind of a pressure I have. If I have to pick one thing, I would definitely pick up 3D tracking. Yeah.
So, Mr. Ali, is this same for you, or do you have one favorite feature?
Well, that's you're putting us in a spot. It's not just one. It has to be. There are so many things which are completely groundbreaking. Like as a Nikon photographer, as a Nikon shooter, but one thing which I really loved and enjoyed is not only the camera, but also the entire ecosystem built around it. Like, there's so much thought which has been put even to the file size, like it being a 45 megapixel camera. And when you're shooting thousands of images, the moment you have the ability to shoot compressed RAW, which makes your file size halfer, makes your workflow a lot faster. Us as sports PTC data, so even things like the apps which have been developed, the NX app, the mobile app, which allows me to shoot on the field and add the data as to what is happening where and upload it immediately on the wire. This is like, I don't have to carry a laptop with me. So there is so much thought which has gone into this camera, and not the camera itself, but the entire ecosystem. Yeah. So one thing is just not going to happen. We need a whole different session for that.
Well, it seems we've had a little bit of a glitch at the end of the session. For all the viewers, in case you were not able to pick up your questions, please send us your queries at the email address which you see pinned in the comment section. Like the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely, lovely weekend.